countertops, appliances, paint colors, or whatever. Sure. And that cycle that kind of goes through is, who are the people that are up there who are picking what we're going to be choosing or have to choose from 10 years from now?
Welcome to the special edition of the Fine Homebuilding podcast with coverage from IBSx, the 2021 virtual experience. This is Senior Editor Patrick McComb. Tonight I'm joined by producer Jeff Rose, Fine Homebuilding Editorial Director Brian Pontolilo,
hey, Patrick.
Editorial Advisor Mike Guertin.
Hello.
Ed Rogers for Vadara, a manufacturer of quartz countertops.
Good evening.
Hey, y'all, I'm going to launch right into it. Thanks so much for being here. This is the first day of the Builder Show, and it's a new experience for everybody.
Well said.
Ed, can you tell me a little bit about your company, what you guys do, where you make your countertops, who they're sold to, how people buy them? I think It's important to talk to you with regard to countertops, and I want to ask you a bunch of questions with regard to what it's like to be an exhibitor in a virtual trade show. It's different for everybody, like we said, right?
Yeah, it most certainly is. We were talking off air about we need to create the excitement of the opening day of the show, right? So we'll figure that one out tomorrow morning, bright and early. But thanks again for having me. We appreciate the opportunity. And so Vadara is a quartz manufacturer, as you indicated earlier. We manufacture slabs, and those slabs are produced in our state-of-the-art, almost brand new facility since early 2019 in South Korea. We have 7 distribution centers around the country that go through distribution, and then we have 3 of our own direct markets. So we have seen tremendous growth in a relatively short period of time. So we focus on really being able to bring to the market a design aesthetic that really focuses on veins, very natural looking products. That's our goal. So we have a relatively small line, about 28 to 34 colors, and we really focus on that specific part of the industry. It has been tremendous in doing that. The line continues to grow. We're very nimble in the fact that we don't have to make 100 different colors and 100 different SKUs. So we're very nimble. We're very much design focused. So if a pattern or something changes, we can adapt to that very quickly with our manufacturing capabilities. So we're excited to be here. We wanted to be here live, but those plans have changed.
So Ed, have you exhibited live in the past at the Builder Show?
We have. We've exhibited at several shows. So this was really going to be the new Vadara's coming out party with all of the new products and everything that were going on. So we were pretty sad when we found out that it wasn't going to go live. But we have done coverings. Obviously, we'll also, I think, we'll see, scheduled for July. Don't know whether that's going to happen. Build New York. In fact, we did Build New York probably 30 days before really the pandemic hit. So it would have been about this time last year in New York.
What do you remember about exhibiting in trade shows past that were in-person events versus what's different now? What will you miss, or what do you miss?
I think I'm going to miss the crowds. I'm going to miss the excitement of people being in the booth and getting to unveil things and getting their
being
feedback.
With the 3 of us is not doing it for you, Ed.
Well, you guys really are, but in a slightly different way, I have to say. But, just I think the overall buzz and the excitement, I think everybody was really looking forward to being there live after 2020 and was holding out hopes that it would happen. I don't miss the 11th hour trying to scramble and make sure the booth is absolutely up to speed.
I'm going to ask you about that later because it's something that we had fun talking with Huber about, right? It's stressful to be getting your stuff to a trade show and everything depends on it all coming together, right?
Absolutely, it does. And I learned years ago. We have a third-party exhibit company that we work with that takes a lot of that stress off of that, because we're moving things that weigh 500-600 pounds in terms of slabs.
I can't wait to talk to you about that too. That's one of my questions
and dealing with all the things that you have to deal with and making sure that it happens. And I can tell you that exhibit company was working at 8 o'clock in the morning come the day of the show to figure it out. So I don't miss that part, but I do miss the energy and the excitement and that trade show brings, because really Design Construction Week in our industry, that's as big as it gets.
Yeah, that's the big one.
It doesn't get any bigger than that. So to not be able to do that live is, but we'll make the best of this one, and we'll go from there.
Edward, obviously what's so cool about being on the show floor is to get to see and touch products and tools and all the things that are new and exciting. I was curious, you've got some time in at trade shows with these products. I'm curious what, I have a few questions, but I'm really curious to hear what are the most common questions you get from people who would come to a trade show, whether it's builders or architects or remodelers, about quartz countertops. What are the common questions? What do people want to know?
Well, I think when you're talking, first off, obviously there's the wow factor of seeing the new stuff, right? So they want to know when it's available, where it's available, those types of things. And then really with quartz now having been pretty well established for a number of years, they're really looking to get some of the basic questions answered, right? How do you maintain it? What makes quartz different than natural stone and those types of things? So, quartz is not a new kid on the block in terms of trade shows. So I think really probably the biggest questions that we get is, what made you decide on that design? When are we going to be able to see it in person? Because you're right, it's such a visual product. I mean, we're gonna lose something regardless of how well we do in a visual trade show. But when you can see it, touch it, feel it, man, there's nothing like that.
So I'm just curious, because countertops are something that the owner usually wants to have. I say the owner, the homeowner, wants to have selection in. And so you've got to really market towards a bunch of different groups. When you go to the builders show, you're going to see a lot of contractors, but then I imagine you've got to go to other trade shows where you're going to see fabricators, who are the ones that
that's right.
Buyers,
that's right.
And then you've also got to market towards directly to homeowners. So how does your marketing work with all of those three different groups, and maybe even more, that you've got to reach to?
Mach 1 with our hair on fire is probably where we start. No, you're absolutely right. So, we touch in all of those channels. The design community, right? A big one for us. And we thank our lucky stars every day that Material Bank is available now. And Material Bank has really been a game changer, plug for them, as to how designers can select products and get physical samples. We've spent a lot of money, time, and energy in building out our own slab galleries. People want to come see a slab, so we make it very easy. Can you describe
what is you mean, like showrooms, Ed? Is that what
yes,
you mean by slab
absolutely.
Gallery?
Absolutely, and we're working on actually unveiling one in Austin, Texas, here probably within the next 3 to 4 months, where it'll actually be 24/7. You can just text us, and we'll give you the code, and you can go in and visit at 10 o'clock at night if you so desire.
That's pretty cool.
So there are some things that we're looking to change. Obviously, the pandemic has accelerated that. We were one of the first to actually put videos on our a YouTube channel for Vadara Quartz. We have them on our website. But yes, because of the nature of what we do, we're very heavily involved in the residential market, all the way from the consumer to the general contractor and to everybody else that's involved, because consumers do want to see it and they want to touch it.
I noticed when I went to the website, because I'd never heard of Vadara before, when I went to the website, the thing that struck me immediately was the veining that you mentioned.
Absolutely.
And I was curious, is the veining in each slab slightly different, or do you have like a certain size slab and the vein is pretty much the same in all of the slabs that get produced?
No, we actually produce, we call what we do handcrafted.
Okay.
So there is an automation component to it, obviously, but we actually, it's like being an artist with a canvas. So we can produce whatever we want that veining to be, because we really produce these really as one-offs almost. Now, obviously a much larger run. So yes, we do a combination of two things. We automate where we can, but then we also create the different patterns and the different looks. Our goal is to be virtually indistinguishable from natural stone or marble.
And that's what's striking about it. When I looked at the photographs, I just thought it was natural stone. I couldn't tell.
And a lot of people do. And obviously the photographs don't even begin to do it justice. But and that's why I said earlier, you know, we really focus on that segment of the category.
So Ed, if it's
the last thing we need is another monochromatic white.
If it's meant to look like stone, what makes it quartz better than stone? Why would you pick quartz over
from a homeowner's perspective, it would be ease of maintenance, right? It's very easy to keep clean. From our perspective, in the design perspective, we can create whatever type of pattern we want. We can make things still look natural that either hasn't been found in Mother Nature or simply couldn't be created in a natural environment. So it really gives us the flexibility to be able to partner with our design partners to talk about trends. You're going to see some things at KBIS that we're calling the next generation, but we're starting to move into the quartzite world and duplicating and replicating those things and be able to create patterns that you just can't find even in natural stone.
So Brian, we were talking on the podcast yesterday about what it's like to go to the Builder Show. You've been going for a long time, and you had to make a transition from an in-person event to a virtual event with regard to the Fine Homebuilding Summit. What are your thoughts on, what this all means for our business and the Builder Show and trade shows generally, and how we're going to learn and see products in the future?
I mean, I don't know that I can really answer that, but I can say that that I have a hunch that by the time it's safe to get together in person again, a lot of people are going to be really wanting to do that, right? Because that's as much as nice as it is to be able to do so much sitting on your couch now. I think there's a lot that's lost when you're not in person, and that's not just not being able to see the products and see things in person like we were talking about. And that's just on the expo side of the show, but it's also the networking with people and just seeing people in the, colleagues that maybe don't live near you, that's where you see them throughout the year. And then of course of course there's the educational aspect of these shows as well that I think we should touch on. And I was really kind of taken by the all that's offered at this show this year, and I was wondering to myself, is there more than ever being offered, or am I overly impressed by this because I feel like I can do as much as I want to this year because so much of it's on demand, and maybe in past shows it's been like what can I squeeze in, what can I get to, but yeah. So I'm really excited. I mean, I picked out a list of about 5 or 6 things that I definitely want to do at the show educationally.
Let's hear them.
Oh, well, I'll get to that in just a sec, and I will share them. I have them written down right here. I will share them. But even on the educational side, these are mostly on demand, and so to not have that access to the instructor or who's teaching it, to not be able to walk up and ask them a question afterwards, or in the ask the people doing the demos, questions, and I miss
talking to the people after the presentation, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's all going to be lost. So just to to wrap up the question about like the future of it, what'll happen, I think, at least for the short term, is that, and it's something we're already looking at with the summit next year, if we can be in person, or later this year, if we can be in person, is to also, now that we've all done the virtual thing, now we know we can do it, we'll do both, right? We'll do the live thing, but we'll make sure it's also available to people who can't be there live. So for the attendee of these types of events, it's great, because they can go to a few live and maybe throughout the year, but maybe they can attend others from their couch. So it's just, I think it's creating a lot of possibilities. All that we're going through right now, we're learning so much that I do think we'll go back to some things that we've done in the past, like live events. But to have learned how to do them virtually, now they're even better, and more people can attend. So I hope that answered your question. And if you want me to keep talking for a moment, I will tell you the events that I think are top on my list.
I want to know.
Okay. I'm going to rattle right through it. Airtight Done Right with Christine Williamson. She's a building scientist based in Texas, who does the Building Science Fight Club, which started as an Instagram page and is now a full-on educational service. So you can look for that website. She just teaches things so well, and she's going to talk about sort of simplified, straightforward versions or options for air sealing. Peter Pfeiffer and his partner Alan Barley are doing something called blending popular design trends with high performance. I think that's interesting, and I think that is kind of going to get at a lot of things that people maybe kind of misconceptions about what a high performance home can be and what it can look like, and I think they'll sort of blow that topic wide open. Matthew Brown and Joel Martell, who I don't know, are doing an educational session on a performance path to code compliance, which I don't know as much about as I'd like to. I mean, so often in conversations about codes, it's like assumed that you have to take the prescriptive path. And so I'm interested in learning more about how, what options you have when you take the performance path, and how you get there.
Do you know anything about that, Mike?
Usually that involves architects and engineers, because they can tap into resources that you and I mortals don't have full knowledge about. So
Brian might have it. I don't.
Yeah, Brian might. But you got to know the NDS, the wood frame construction manual, a bunch of the other resources that the codes are based on, and so it gets into a lot of number crunching.
I see some use of that in trying to, what I would describe as fudge insulation levels, is that when I see that being brought out, but that's probably not a fair description of what you're talking about, Brian.
Well, I think there is potential there for when it comes to the energy requirements as well. And I think there are ways. I mean, I know some municipalities, and this is not. I don't know if this is the same thing exactly, but some municipalities will allow people to use voluntary standards instead of whatever the code is there, if the municipality is deemed that voluntary standard superior to code levels. So there are options, I think, with energy stuff as well. Then there's a talk called Wellness Design Beyond Aging in Place by a kitchen designer and certified aging in place professional named Jamie Gold from California, and sort of taking that idea of sort of like next leveling the idea of aging in place. I think it said, the description sounded really interesting. There's a seminar with Carla Butterfield from Steve Winter Associates, and another New York builder named John Barrows on how to get to electrification of homes. And I know those people in those firms are excellent. So I think that would be a good one. And then finally, maybe the most important, there's a seminar called Why Diversity Matters, which is going to explore diversifying the building workforce and why that is a good thing, and ideas on how we can do that.
Brian, all of those selections, were they part of there's two looks like two different tracks for education. There's free and open to anybody that has an expo pass, like a exhibit floor pass. And then there's the education side, which is, pretty pricey for some people, where you get the full educational, all the classroom education. So were those from the classroom education, or were they from the free to anybody who wants to sign up portions?
Geez, Mike, that's the hardest question anyone's asked me all day today.
Sorry.
I'm actually not sure. The way that I was browsing through this, I didn't see something that divided it in that way.
Well, did you have to pay for them?
Yeah, I was going to say, you have to break out your credit card.
Yeah.
Well, so the rules are a little different for us. Ed.
That's true. That's true.
The media folk, we are,
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Ed, I want to ask you a question. So, Brian and I have talked about it on occasions, and Mike and I talked it about before recording yesterday. But like, one of the things you want when you go to a trade show is when you go to someone's booth, you want someone knowledgeable there who can answer your questions and help you do your job, right? You're looking for solutions. Do you have a way in this virtual world in your booth, or have you seen it done well, where folks who are visiting can talk to people who are knowledgeable about the products that they're representing?
Well, we're gonna learn, starting tomorrow for sure. So, they'll be able to interact with us through chat. They'll be able to schedule 30-minute one-on-one meetings with us, which will primarily be me. And then they will have the option to contact us if they have a longer question, and we'll follow up on that. And we also would encourage your audience, if you have any questions during the show or even afterwards, you can go to vadaraquartz.com, hit the contact us button. Those come directly to me. I will answer and reply to all of those questions. We can schedule offline meetings with people. So right now, what we just don't know is what is that traffic and volume going to look like tomorrow.
I think Fine Homebuilding is asking ourselves the same question in a staff meeting today, right, Brian?
Right.
And Ed, I'm wondering so when you do a trade show, for the first time, the exhibitors I've spoken with, they're always wondering, am I a good fit for the show? Or am I going to get a lot of people in my booth? They've got to think about how much they're spending. And it's not just the spending to what you pay to be an exhibitor, but then all the costs that are associated with getting your staff to a show and everything else. What do you think your metrics are going to be with a virtual show, and how you know whether or not it was worthwhile being an exhibitor?
Well, Mike, it's a great question. One of the things that we did when we made the decision to do it virtually is we are spending probably just as much, if not more, than we normally would promoting the show in the beginning, getting as many people as we have influence with to come. We've done a lot of pre-show work. Stone World magazine, anybody that's in the trade has picked up the launch of the new colors. So I think we could probably get together after the show and kind of dissect that a little bit more, but it's uncharted territory. But we are being very, very proactive in terms of getting people to participate. And we think that if they are truly interested, they're going to carve out some time. Now, they may no longer be there for 3 or 4 days like they would have been in a live show and coming back into your booth and having follow-up questions. But we also think that people are going to feel a little more relaxed and want to engage a little bit more, because you know how it gets at a trade show.
Yep, it's elbows to elbows.
When there's wall-to-wall people in your booth, and there are other times when it's quieter. So the short answer is we're not sure yet. But it was important for us to support NKBA and IBS, it's gone virtual. So, we're going to support it and make the best of it.
Do you have, one of the things we were talking about with Huber yesterday was how important it is, like, in the building industry, touching and feeling and seeing things, as Mike was alluding to earlier. Like, do you have a way to send small samples of countertops to specifiers or builders or other clients?
Absolutely. So it's a multi-pronged approach, right? You can order samples directly from us online. They're always free. You can go to the Vadara website. You can contact us and we'll send them out. The other tool that we're really excited about, and it's been long overdue in our industry, is Material Bank. And they have developed a system that is unbelievable.
Can you explain that to me, Ed? I'm not sure I know what that is. So
Material Bank is owned by Sandow Publishing. So they produce interior design magazine, you name it, in our industry. They're the giant. They created a product fulfillment company called Material Bank, where a designer can actually go online. They can join for free, and they can order up everything from textiles to floor tile to countertop materials by 12 o'clock Eastern, midnight, and have it delivered 10:30 the next day.
Wow. Have you guys heard of this? This sounds fantastic.
No, it does.
Oh, listen, I'm happy to share that news with you guys. It has been fantastic because it really allows the designers and the manufacturers to engage at a whole different level. So they get their samples, they're obviously interested, and it's all about the follow-up from that point. And we love it. We have been a member now for a little over 2 months. We're getting requests from all over the country. And it really gives our reps and our people in the field the opportunity to really engage with someone who is interested in our product. So we're very excited about that. So there are a variety of different ways for people to get sampling from us because, yeah, they've got to touch it. They've got to see it. I mean, what you see behind me in the photograph, which your listeners won't be able to, is one of our products. But imagine being able to see that and touch it. And it's gorgeous. But
is that your kitchen, Ed?
No, that is actually from a company, if I can plug them, Jewelry Design in Illinois. This was a kitchen design with full height backsplash, all of our material.
That's pretty cool. I like the range hood too. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's a great look. So I'll be happy to share some other images with you offline. I've got a bunch.
So, Mike, one of the things we do when we go to the Builder Show is we look for new products, right? Have you had any success yet finding new stuff?
Well, one of my concerns with a virtual trade show was in previous years, the IBS and KBIS would let us go onto the website weeks in advance and actually look at all of the exhibitor pages. They had individual pages for each exhibitor, and I would plan my whole show floor experience by picking off all of the interesting exhibitors. And that has actually they didn't do that, but they did open it on Monday. So, or maybe even on Sunday. So I've been spending hours just cruising through and have found quite a few things. I was remarkably surprised. They have a new products section on their website. So for me anyway, that's my first start point because I want to see what's new, either from companies that have been out there for years and they're just introducing things, because as we all know at KBIS and IBS, that's where a lot of companies hold off on introducing new products that they've had in the works for the previous year or two, and then they introduce them. So that page led me to a bunch of different things, and I can either go down them quickly, Patrick, or I could just pick one or two. What would you like to do? I can do them real quick.
Well, let's dive into it, and we'll see how much time we got. How late can you stay up, Brian?
Well, you guys have to do all the editing, so I'm.
So I didn't because.
Do you have anywhere to be, Ed?
Here
we go, Mike. Go ahead, buddy.
Okay.
I need to say it, but I don't.
3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 7 here, plus I got another list I haven't dived too deeply in. So they don't have the virtual booths open until I think it's 10 o'clock on Tuesday. So because of that, I can't go in and interact with the exhibitor themselves to ask my follow-up questions. So I'm just going off of what the companies are saying. So there's this one, I don't know if it's called FIBO or FIBO. It's FIBO Systems. It's a Norwegian company that makes waterproof click lock wall panel systems and what they call outfit wet rooms. Now, in their installation video, they just show doing all the walls in a bathroom with these panels, and they have a bunch of different colors and finishes.
Like for a shower, Mike, or just like
that's where the virtual so I'd like to go to their booth to see it, but they're not open yet. So that would be one of the booths I want to go see. Knowing that the Europeans, a lot of their bathrooms have open showers. In other words, they just have a corner of the bathroom where a shower head comes out and a drain in the
yeah, and you try not to make a mess, right?
You try not to make a mess. But I'm thinking that these panels are supposed to be 100% waterproof, and they want to, I think they probably are meant for being used in showers. So I want to see what they've got, because it might be an alternative to tile. That's the way they're positioning themselves. Another company called Urban Surfaces, they make flooring. It looks like luxury vinyl tile, but I can't tell for sure because they don't say that in there. But they have a new product with this, it's called Instagrip, and it has a gripping system on the backside. So these 9-inch wide by 48-inch long, basically tiles of the vinyl tile. You just place them down on subfloor without any adhesive and without magnets. And once you put them in position, there's a perimeter that you put some tape down. It looks like a double-sided sticky tape from what I can tell. Once you put it down, that whole system will be locked in, and you don't actually have to do any extra work to bond them down. They'll just stay in place because of the gripping surface on the back. So that again, I'm going to ask more questions when I can get to the booth. Leviton, who we all know is a company that makes electrical components, they have anti-microbial cover plates for switches and outlets.
I saw this ahead of the show. What do you all think of this? So they put some kind of chemicals in the plastic to make it antimicrobial. Or
they've been doing this. They've been doing that for years with lots of different products, putting antimicrobial. But you don't think about how many times you're walking through houses, or particularly commercial buildings, flipping switches on and off and things. So
that stuff is disgusting, I'm sure.
Yeah. Camo, which is a company that makes hidden fasteners and screws. Well, they make lots of things. They're
for decking, right, Mike?
Nails. But yeah, Camo is primarily geared towards decking. They've had a few different versions of different hidden fasteners, but one which is sort of how they just take something they already came up with, which is good. They have what's called edge clips, which look like little X's. Well, they were made out of plastic, and they work fine. I used them. The thing nice about those is that you can put all the fasteners preloaded with the screw between the boards, then not screw them down. Then they're loose fit, then you jam all the boards together. Well, now they come out with a metal version called Edge X Metal. So I think for a lot of contractors who, there's a thing about, is it a plastic clip or a metal clip? And they like the idea of stainless steel. So that's one thing they've got. Another is a new tool. Some of listeners might be familiar with the bow wrench, which is a device for camming the deck boards to either take out a bent board if it's using wood boards, or if you've got a bunch of decking already in place, like with the Camo edge system, you can crank the boards snug together using a sort of a device which clamps over the side of a joist, and then as you cam it, it pinches the joist so you can get some leverage against the boards. Well, they came out with they're calling it the lever tool, and it's sort of like the bow wrench on steroids. It has it can adjust to fit on single 2x, double 2x, and it also will work on metal joists. So there are a couple companies out there that are making metal deck joists, and that's been a problem on how we can clamp and straighten out boards with those with the metal joists because they're C channels. So this will work on that. Then
what's that called again, Mike? The lever?
It's called lever, the lever tool. So
and it's from
Camo. So they're just rounding out all of what it'll do for them with their edge fasteners, their edge clips, is now you'll be able to load up all those fasteners between a gang of boards, maybe 10, 12 boards, then use the lever or a couple of the devices to crank the boards in nice and snug so you got a good straight line, and then you can go back and screw them down. Panasonic is introducing an ERV. They're calling it the Intella Balance 200. It won't be out until this coming summer, but it's like ERVs, in general, but it's got some performance features, which are really nice. It looks like it's got built-in up to MERV 13 filter slots. So a lot of ERVs don't come with that. I know some of the higher end ones do, but this will have that. It also, like some of their bathroom fan products, that will the EM motors will ramp up and down depending on the static pressure of the duct work. This will do the same, which is nice because you can set your airflow and it doesn't just spin the fan at a predetermined rate to get your flow. The motor will increase the torque, increase the RPMs, or decrease, so it maintains the constant flow for the setting you've set it at. So I don't know if anybody else is doing that with their ERVs, so that'll be nice to see. Deflecto has what they call airtight fusion seam ductwork for exhausts on dryers, clothes dryers.
So this is aluminum, Mike, or is it plastic?
It's galvanized. It's a heavy galvanized steel. So the galvanization is going to be less prone to corrosion. So we have to use metal ductwork to duct all of our dryers for fire safety. And if we're using off-the-shelf stuff, it's got, regular ductwork. Elbows have a bunch of joints in them, as well as a seam on regular regular straight runs. So these look like they're going to be leak proof and much smoother on the inside, so they're not going to be as prone to lint buildup. Again, I want to ask the guys got the virtual trade booth staff there. I want to ask them some questions, and I want to hopefully see a sample. And that's where I'm really going to miss being at a real trade show, because that's where you can actually see the products in person.
And how do those pieces go together?
They're just like regular ductwork, but they've got elbows. They got 90s, 45s, and straight runs. So, and they're a little bit, looks like a little bit longer on the sweep for their elbows.
They're meant to have less static pressure, so you could have a longer run, or you don't have buildup of lint. And okay, that's cool.
So, and less prone to corrosion. And the last one I got here is, and you may want to call that tech person you had on Pro Talk podcast a couple months ago. From Sherwin-Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Their super paint now comes with air purifying technology. So, air purifying technology. Now, this, so they say it's chemically enhanced to break down household odors and break them down. And it also improves the indoor air quality of the home. So if there are any VOCs from carpeting or new furniture you put in your house, the paint is going to neutralize.
So I posted this once with Martin Holliday, right? And there are chemicals that can reduce VOCs. And I don't know how this works or if you can put it in paint, but there are apparently some legit technologies that actually do this.
Yeah, there's some drywall that's manufactured to do that, and I've always wondered, okay, I put in this drywall which is going to absorb the VOCs, but then I put paint on it. What happens? So now we've got paint that takes care of it. So that's all I got.
We can put Vadara on the wall because there's no VOCs and it's non-porous.
Great. We'll do walls, ceilings, and floors.
I'd love to hear about that paint.
Ed, how do you make that stuff? Is it like must have these huge presses? It's like you're doing what it amounts to geology in a plant, right? Like, so how's that?
Well, that's right. You know, so many people call it engineered stone, and that's actually a term we actually embrace because, you know, 90+% of our finished slab is natural quartz. So it doesn't get much more natural than that.
Where does it come from, the particles? Or does it vary?
Well, the quartz is actually the second most abundant mineral on Earth. And a lot of times it is a byproduct of other types of operations. It's basically considered waste. So it's ground up. It can be anything from a fine sand, silica, beach sand, essentially, up to very large aggregates. The thing about quartz is you can't find it large enough to actually cut it like you would a granite slab or a marble slab. So someone has to engineer it.
Because of weathering, or it's what? Why? Why can't you find big pieces of quartz?
It just doesn't occur that way in nature. So it can be, so for example, with granite, there's a quartz component to granite, not nearly as high as quartz countertops. So yeah, you take those raw materials. It's literally like baking a cake, right? You mix all the ingredients, you produce them, and what distinguishes us is normally you would put them into a mold or run them down a conveyor. And to Mike's point earlier, the pattern just looks the same from A to Z, and you can't really change anything. So when we fill these and put these into a mold, we then go back and actually have created the pattern for the veining. So that's actually done a second time. So it comes basically off the production line to put the veining into place to do that. And then it goes back into the production line. And just like a cake, it goes into the oven. It's baked. And structurally, then it's sanded and dimensionally finished. And there you have it.
So the artist who's like making the pattern, right, are they adding quartz particles, or is it another material, or does it
so essentially you've got, obviously the largest portion of this is obviously quartz in some size, over 90%. Then a polymer resin is what's used to bind it all together. So essentially you bake it, and then you obviously have color in. So think of it as you've got a coloring book, right? And you've got paints and you've got brushes. And so the coloring book is your mold, and you can create whatever you want there. And then you put the pattern in there to look like natural stone or natural marble. And then you add the color. And in some cases, in some of our colors, our backgrounds take 2 to 3 different colors blended together. Because our goal is really to offer people warm, if those are the tones they want, cool, or a transitional product, right? So cool is considered gray or black. Warm is considered creamy or taupe. And then the perfect marriage of those two is to be able to use those two colors in one pattern.
What were you going to say, Brian?
I was going to ask where the quartz is mined.
All over the world. I mean, we do, we obviously do it on an industrial scale. So in our example, the last raw materials that came in were about 300 tons of quartz. You can get it from all over the world. And there are various, not necessarily grades, but qualities of quartz. So we may need clear. We may need a milky color. Quartz comes in lots of different colors, but primarily for us and everything you see with us, the majority of our line has has a very white, crisp background. And then there are a couple of additives that can be put in there, because what we don't want to create are nice white backgrounds that when you get close look like they have all these little black marks in them. You want that background to be as smooth as you can possibly get it. So
I'm betting you're not sorting like individual colored particles. It has to be that way from the quarry, or
oh no, it comes that way from the quarry. I mean, it comes in these industrial size sacks. It goes into large chambers that feed the mixing. Yeah, this is on an industrial scale. So Yeah, no, we're not individually sifting anything and picking this color out. But yeah, so you see our backgrounds, and I wish you could see them in live, but they're very smooth, they're very crisp, they're very clean. But it all comes from how you buy the raw materials.
You guys have anything to ask or add?
I'm just curious about one thing because I'm still intrigued with the veining. Do those veins go all the way through the, whatever it is, 3, 4,
Yes.
5 centimeters? Okay, so it's not just a surface.
No, it's not anything like that. It goes all the way through. That's why in the mold you have the basic background of the mold, and then you have all of those veins that are actually cut into that. So it goes all the way through. We offer it in 2 thicknesses. There's 3/4 inch, and then there's 1.25 inch. So on 1.25 inch, they can finish the front edge, and they're done.
Are there different levels of finish, like polished and honed, or is it all polished?
Well, we only produce a polished finish.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at honed, obviously the idea there is to cut down on light reflectives,
mm-hmm.
right? And you want something that's a matte, that's a duller finish. The challenge with that is you now are taking away one of the attributes of quartz. So when it's completely sealed, it's non-porous, but when you hone it or you do something else to the finish, it's kind of like microscopic carpet fibers. You can't see them, but there's peaks and valleys there, and things get trapped. Now, it's not going to permanently stain the material, but one of the beauties of quartz is low maintenance.
Right.
You take a hone finish, and particularly on a dark color, your maintenance is going to go up considerably in order to get that look. You're going to be wiping off fingerprints. Oils can get trapped right there on the surface if you do a lot of cooking, which a lot of our clients do. That can get trapped, so you're constantly having to wipe up after yourself. So it's kind of a catch-22. We have opted not to do any hone finishes because the finish that we've got, it's not a mirrored finish. It's not a high gloss finish. So it's more of a satin to an upper end finish rather than a high gloss mirror type finish.
So like Mike, one of the reasons I've always gone to the builder show in person, virtual, is to find new products. And so I've been on the lookout today, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with True Refrigeration, but this is a company that makes really nice refrigerators and ice makers and refrigerator drawers and this kind of stuff. Anyway, they have a new color, and they call it juniper. Can any of you guess what color juniper is?
I've got junipers in my yard, and they're kind of a pale green.
Anyone else want to take a stab at what juniper is in the True refrigeration world? Go ahead,
True
Ed.
refrigeration world, I don't know, a blue-green kind of?
It's very blue. So my wife said it should have been more accurately called juniper berry because the vegetation is green and the berries are blue. But anyway, it's an absolutely gorgeous color. But I bring it up for 2 reasons. Probably not many folks are going to opt for the juniper colored refrigeration appliances. But what they did have on this kitchen and the press materials they sent me, Ed, was a quartz countertop with a waterfall edge and 6 refrigeration drawers in the center of this island. And it looked like the corners where the vertical pieces meet the horizontal pieces are mitered. Is that something?
That's correct. Yeah.
That's incredible to me.
Yeah. Actually, we have the broadest range of what we call book matched materials. So there's a left and a right. The slabs are 63 inches wide, so they're plenty wide. And that's exactly what they do. They will miter the edge and do the waterfall. It's extremely popular.
Wow.
Yeah, we're introducing 2 more book match patterns at KBIS. So
I'm going to ask you guys individually, have you ever had like harvest gold or avocado green appliances in your life? And can you imagine that juniper blue is going to be around 10 years from now and where people are going to be like, wow, this is such an awesome color. I'm going to want to have this for another 10 years.
It'll come back in 30 years.
Yeah, it's kind of like some of the things that some of my wardrobe. If you keep it around long enough, it comes back in style.
Ed, my dad said that his whole life.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that to happen, but at the risk of dating myself, avocado gold, yes, I can even go back to turquoise.
Ed, have you had weird colored appliances in your life?
No, not voluntarily. Not voluntarily. No, I stick to stainless steel and those types of things.
I bet you have, Brian.
I'm trying to think of some of the apartments that I lived in when I was younger.
There you go. Yeah.
I know had some funny appliances. I can definitely remember some like beigey yellows that were very dated. It's an interesting thing, right? It colored appliances just they've had their moments, but it's just not something that we see a whole lot of, and they're available. I mean, you can still find them, and
and you can have stuff made whatever color you want.
Yeah,
yeah.
I've been intrigued. The most interesting thing in appliance finishes to me over the past few years have been sort of the there's been some, well, getting back to like different levels of sheen. There's been some like sort of matte looking black. I don't know if that's the right term, but like matte looking blacks on appliances, or like grays that I thought looked really nice and that maybe wouldn't look dated over time. But yeah, black, stainless. And in the right situation, white, I guess, works.
Yeah.
How about you, Mike? Have you had your Harvest Gold range?
I have not, but I've remodeled hundreds, well, maybe not hundreds of kitchens, but closing in on 100 kitchens that have had those old appliances. Yeah. And, the interesting thing is if they're still working and we put them on at the street side, somebody grabs them.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they're going to reuse them or just recycle them, but at least they don't go into the trash.
One of my high school friends, his parents moved into a new house. Well, it was a new to them house, and it was built in the, I think, mid-50s, custom home, very well built. But it had pink appliances in the kitchen and a pink built-in refrigerator that was actually mounted above the countertop. Oh, just some crazy stuff these folks did. And
wow,
I wish we could have saved that stuff, because it was like nothing I've ever seen. It would go into, one of those show homes that GM did or Ford did at the, World Fair, right?
Absolutely.
Patrick, if you ever get a chance, if you're in Rhode Island, go to the RISD Museum.
Okay.
They have a whole section, at least they did the last time I was there. My wife's a member, so we go regularly, or used to go regularly. But they have a whole section on like industrial design. So they have a whole bunch of appliances from different periods of time and all these, things you haven't even seen before. And then they have these futuristic things that their design people are envisioning. And that's what I always wonder when we talk about design of countertops, appliances, paint colors, or whatever. Sure. And that cycle that kind of goes through is, who are the people that are up there who are picking what we're going to be choosing or have to choose from 10 years from now? And actually, Ed, I'm curious, do you have somebody on staff who is your a design guru, or do you outsource that, or how does that come together? How do you
a combination of both of those things? So yeah, we have influencers that we talk to regularly. We have our own design team, and it's always a balance for us between creating the right design and the optimal performance characteristics of the material, right? So we do all those things. We do focus groups. A lot of what we try to do is, we're only one piece of what's going on in the kitchen environment usually. So we really try to work within this range of cool, which probably about 40% of people like, warm, which is probably another 40%, and then kind of that mid-range, warm to cool, that can work with virtually anything. But, it's been interesting, because if something goes from gray to too blue, it impacts the amount of people that like that particular color. So yes, we make use of all of those types of sources. In addition to going to trade shows and looking at products and seeing what other people are doing. But yeah, it's a 24/7 kind of thing with us.
Yeah. Trend setting.
Well, yeah, we laugh in our organization. Sometimes we can get a little over the front of our skis, but that's why we really like the idea of focusing specifically on what we do and do well. Veining is right in our wheelhouse. You've seen it online. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into that, a lot more. I've learned a lot more in the last 6 months about color and color development than I ever thought possible.
There's a lot to know, right?
There's a lot to know, and there's still a lot I don't know.
Ed, you want to give the company website before we part company?
Absolutely. For any of your listeners who can't make it to the show, first, love to invite them to our booth. But if they can't, it is Vadara Quartz, VAD as in David, ARA, Quartz, it's one word.com. If you have any questions, please hit the contact us button. It comes directly to me, and we'll answer all your questions. And Mike, and none of you guys have Vadara on your list, so I'm just saying.
Well, we knew you were going to be here, so we didn't have to put it on.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mike, you want to plug your Instagram account?
Not really. I'm trying to keep a low profile.
He doesn't want to answer.
All right, write this down.
That's okay. Thank you for that, though.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. Unless Brian wants to say something.
Nope.
Good job.
Go to Mike's Instagram. It's excellent.
So,
It's
Mike, are you
excellent.
on LinkedIn?
I am, yeah.
All right. We'll
I
track
never
you down
use
there.
it, but I'll see you there, I'm sure.
We'll track you down there.
It's been a sincere pleasure hanging out with you guys. I really mean it.
Yep.
Guys, it's been fun. Thank you guys for your support, and hope to see you all come wander by the booth.
Well, make sure
All right.
all of you who are listening tune in tomorrow and the rest of the week for Fine Homebuilding's podcast coverage of IBSx. If any of you out there have questions about the show, send them to fhbpodcast@taunton.com. And if you don't mind, let us know how we're doing with our show coverage. If you're attending IBSx, be sure to visit the Fine Homebuilding booth. Anything you want to say about that, Brian?
No, check it out. I mean, I don't know what to say about it right now. We'll see tomorrow.
It's going to be great.
Hey, but if anybody sees anything that they're curious about and they want us to talk about, send Patrick a note through the email there or on their social media, and then he'll turn it over to one of us and we'll check it out.
Or go right to Mike's Instagram account. That's what I would say. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Stay safe. Keep craft alive. Happy building. See you tomorrow.